Tomorrow, pretty maids, for all preparing these floral pretty extraordinary.
Do all you maidens love them? These gondoliers are to be envied greatly. But what of us, who one and all adore you? Have pity on our passion, we implore you.
These gentlemen must make their choice before you. In the meantime, we trust that they ignore you. When they have chosen to, that leaves you pretty. Oh, do you pray and live and enjoy your touching variety.
With pleasure, nobody contradicente. Over there is fellows a witch. With loving and laughing and quipping and coughing, we're happy as happy can be. With loving and laughing and quipping and coughing, we're happy as happy can be. travels all are young and fair, and amiable besides. We really do not care a preference to a declare.
A bias to dispose being delicate,
And therefore we propose to let it pass, and elect for us a maid.
We are a bias to dispose would be delicate.
But how do they propose to let it pass, your mates elect, for them a mate?
These handkerchiefs upon our eyes be good enough to bind,
and take good care that both of us are absolutely blind.
and turn aside and we with all convenient dispatch will undertake to marry any two of you we catch.
We hope they undertake to marry any two of us they catch. Are you peeping? Can you see me?
Dark and keeping, dark and dreamy.
Are you blinded? Truly say so.
All right, my lips play so.
Conduct shady, they are cheating. Surely they deserve a beating. This too much is made with nothing. Conduct such is truly shocking. You can spy and shut your eyes, and you can spy and shut your eyes, and you may use it by advice, and you can sit and sit and sit and you can sit and sit and sit and My papa, he keeps 3 horses, black and white and dapple grazer. Turn 3 times and take your courses, catch whichever girl you race her.
My papa, he keeps 3 horses, black and white and apple grazer. Turn 3 times and take your courses, catch whichever girl you race her. My papa, he keeps 3 horses, black and white and apple grazer.
I said that she's a capture. This is Tessa. Rapture, rapture.
To me, Janetta fate has granted just the very girl I wanted.
Just the very girl you wanted.
If you'd rather change,
My goodness, this indeed is simple rudeness.
I've no preference whatever.
Listen to him. Well, I never.
sunny Spanish shore. The Duke of Plaza door.
And his grace is Duchess too. And his grace is daughter too.
And his grace is private drum till the niche shawls have come, till the niche shawls have come. And if ever back to Spain, they will never see again. They will never see again.
Neither that grandee from the Spanish shore, the noble Duke of Plaza door.
For his grace is Duchess daughter too. And his grace is daughter too.
For his grace's own particular drum, till the niche shawls will come, till the niche shawls will come. If ever back to Spain, they will never see again. They will never see again.
At last we have arrived at our destination. This is the Ducal Palace, and it is here that the Grand Inquisitor resides. As a Castilian hidalgo of 95 quarterings, I regret that I'm unable to make my state visit on a horse. As a Castilian hidalgo of that description, I should prefer to ride through the streets of Venice. But owing, I presume, to an unusually wet season, the streets are in such a condition that equestrian exercise is impracticable. No matter. Where is our suite?
Your Grace, I am here.
Why do you not do yourself the honor to kneel when you address his grace?
My love, it is so small a matter. Still, you may as well do it.
The young man seems to entertain but an imperfect appreciation of the respect due from a menial to a Castilian hidalgo.
My child, you are hard upon our suite.
Papa, I've no patience with the presumption of persons in his plebeian position. If he does not appreciate that position, then let him be whipped until he does.
Ooh, let us hope the omission was not intended as a slight. I should be very hurt if I thought it were so. And so would he. Where are the halberdiers who were to have had the honor of meeting us here, that our visit to the Grand Inquisitor might be made in becoming state?
Your Grace, the halberdiers are mercenary people who stipulated for a trifle on account.
Oh, how tiresome. Well, let us hope the Grand Inquisitor is a blind gentleman. And the band who were to have had the honor of escorting us? I see no band.
Your Grace, the band are sordid persons who required to be paid in advance.
That's so like a band.
Insuperable difficulties meet me at every turn.
But surely they know his grace?
Exactly. They know His Grace.
Well, let us hope that the Grand Inquisitor is a deaf gentleman. A cornet a piston would have been something. You do not happen to possess the accomplishment of a tootling like a cornet a piston.
Alas, no, Your Grace. But I can imitate farmyard.
I don't see how that would help us. I don't see how we could fit it in.
It would not help us in the least. We're not a parcel of graziers come to market, Dot.
My dear, our sweet feelings. Be so good as to ring the bell and inform the Grand Inquisitor that His Grace the Duke of Plaza Toro, Count Matadoro, Baron of Picadoro,
And
sweet have arrived, and seek
Desire.
demand.
and demand an audience.
Your Grace has but to command.
I felt sure of it. I felt sure of it. And now, my dear, shall we tell her? I think so. And now, my dear, prepare for a magnificent surprise. It is my agreeable duty to reveal to you a secret that should make you the happiest young lady in Venice.
A secret which for state reasons it has been necessary to preserve for 20 years.
When you were a prattling babe of 6 months old, you were married, by proxy, to no less a personage than the infant son and heir of the immeasurably wealthy King of Barataria.
Married to the infant son of the King of Barata.
consider his extreme youth and forgive him. Well, shortly after the ceremony, that misguided monarch abandoned the creed of his forefathers and became a Wesleyan Methodist of the most bigoted and persecuting type. Well, the Grand Inquisitor, determined that the innovation should not be perpetuated in Barataria, caused your smiling and unconscious husband to be stolen and conveyed to Venice. A fortnight since, that Methodist monarch and all his Wesleyan court were killed in an insurrection. And so, we are here to discover the whereabouts of your husband and to hail you, our daughter, as Her Majesty, the reigning Queen of Barataria.
Your Majesty.
It is at such moments that one feels how necessary it is to travel with a full band.
I'm the Queen of Barataria, but I've nothing to wear. I'm practically penniless.
Oh, that point has not escaped me. Although I am unfortunately at present in straitened circumstances, my social influence is something immense. And a company to be called the Duke of Plaza Toro, PLC, is in course of formation to work me. An influential directorate has been secured, and I shall myself join the board after allotment.
Am I to understand that the Queen of Barataria may be called upon at any time to witness her honoured sire in process of liquidation?
Well, the situation is not exempt from that drawback. If, however, your father stops, it will be necessary to wind him up.
But it's so undignified. It's so degrading. A grandiose Spain turned into a public company. Such a thing was never heard.
Well, the Duke of Plaza Toro does not follow fashions. He leads them. He always leads everyone. When he was in the army, he led his regiment. He occasionally led them into action. He invariably led them out of it. In enterprise of martial kind, when there was any fighting, he led his regiment from behind. He found it less exciting. But when away his regiment ran, his place was at the Foro. Then celebrating, cultivated, underrated nobleman, the Duke of Plaza Toro. In the first and foremost fight, he always found the time. Then celebrating, cultivated, underrated nobleman, the Duke of Plaza Toro. To escape destruction's hand, to hide they all proceeded. No soldier in that gallant band hid half as well as he did. He lay concealed throughout the war and so preserved his Toro. That unattended, working any warrior, the Duke of Plaza Toro. In every doughty deed, he always took the lead. That unattended, working any warrior, the Duke of Plaza Toro. That they would all be shot unless they left the service. That hero hesitated, not so marvelous his nervous. He sent his resignation in the first of all the Coro. That very knowing, overflowing, easygoing paladin, the Duke of Plaza Toro. Together goes the play, he always showed the way. That very knowing, overflowing, easygoing paladin, the Duke of Plaza Toro. That very knowing, overflowing, easygoing paladin, the Duke of Plaza Toro.
Nothing, I trust, will ever give you reason to repent.
Nay, Lewis, it may not be. I have embraced you for the last time.
Casilda,
I have just learnt, to my surprise and indignation, that I was wed in babyhood to the infant son of the King of Barataria.
the son of the King of Barataria? The child who was stolen in infancy by the Inquisition?
The same. But of course, you know his story.
Know his story? Why, I have often told you my mother was the nurse to whose charge he was entrusted.
True, I had forgotten. Well, he has been discovered. My father has brought me here to claim his hand.
But you will not recognise this marriage. It took place when you were too young to understand its import.
Nay, Lewis, respect my principles and cease to torture me with vain entreaties. Henceforth, my life is another's.
But stay, the present and the future, they are another's. But the past, that at least is ours, and none can take it from us. As we may revel in naught else, let us revel in that.
I don't think I grasp your meaning.
Yet it is logical enough. You say you cease to love me.
I say I may not love you.
Ah, but you do not say you did not love me.
I loved you with a frenzy that words are powerless to express. And that but 10 brief minutes.
Exactly. My own, that is until 10 minutes since my own. My lately loved, my recently adored, tell me that until, say, a quarter of an hour ago, I was all in all to thee.
I see your idea. It's ingenious. But don't do that.
There can be no harm in revelling in the past.
None whatever. But an embrace cannot be taken to act retrospective.
Perhaps not. Oh, Casilda, you were to me as the sun is to the earth.
And now, our love, so full of life, is but a silent, solemn memory.
Must it be so, Casilda?
Lewis, it must be so.
There was a time forever gone. Oh, woe is me. It was no crime to love the free alone. Oh, woe is me. On heart, on life, on soul of
to introduce His Distinction the Don Alhambra del Bolero, the Grand Inquisitor of Spain. It was his distinction who so thoughtfully abstracted your husband and brought him to Venice.
So this is the little lady who is so unexpectedly called upon to assume the functions of royalty. And a very nice little lady, too.
Cute, isn't she?
Distinctly cute. Allow me. Your tip-temper.
You must make some allowance. Her Majesty's head is a little turned by her access of dignity.
I could have wished that Her Majesty's access of dignity had turned it in this direction.
Nevertheless, unless I am mistaken, there is some doubt as to the whereabouts of His Majesty.
A doubt as to his whereabouts. We may yet be saved.
Doubt? Oh dear, no, no doubt at all. He's here in Venice, plying the modest but picturesque calling of a gondolier. I can give you his address. I see him every day. In the entire annals of our history, there is absolutely no circumstance so entirely free from manner of doubt of any kind whatever. Listen, and I'll tell you all about it.
I stole the prince and I brought him here and I left him gaily prattling with a highly respectable gondolier who promised the royal babe to rear and teach him the trade of the time on air with his own beloved prattling. Though the babes were strong and stout and considering all things clever, of that there is no manner of doubt, no probable possible shadow of doubt, no possible doubt whatever.
No possible doubt whatever.
But knowing I'm much disposed to fear to his terrible taste of tippling, this highly respectable gondolier could never declare with a mind sincere which of the two is his offspring dear, and which the royal stripling. Which was which he could never make out, despite his best endeavor. Of that there is no manner of doubt, no probable possible shadow of doubt, no possible doubt whatever.
No possible doubt whatever.
Time sped, and when at the end of the year I sought that infant cherished, the highly respectable gondolier was lying a corpse in his humble bier. I dropped a grand inquisitor's tear. That gondolier had perished, a taste for drink combined with gout, dulled him up forever. Of that there is no manner of doubt, no probable possible shadow of doubt, no possible doubt whatever.
No possible doubt whatever.
The children followed his old career, this statement can't be parried. Of a highly respectable gondolier, well, one of the two who will soon be here. But which of the two it is not quite clear is the royal prince you married. Such in and out and round about, and who discover never a tale so free from every doubt, or probable possible shadow of doubt, or possible doubt whatever.
A tale so free from every doubt, no probable possible shadow of doubt, no possible doubt whatever.
Without any doubt of any kind whatever. But be reassured. The nurse to whom your husband was entrusted is the mother of the musical young man who is such a past master of that delicately modulated instrument. She can, no doubt, establish the king's identity beyond all question.
Heavens, how did you know that?
My young friend, a Grand Inquisitor is always up to date. His mother is at present the wife of a highly respectable and old-established brigand who carries on an extensive practice in the mountains around Florida. Accompanied by two of my emissaries, he will leave for his mother's dress at once. She will return with them, and if she has any difficulty in making up her mind, the persuasive influence of the torture chamber will jog her memory.
Commit to fate without unseemly wrangle. complications frequently occur. Life is one closely complicated tangle. Death is the only true unraveler.
Timely life on we can never straight on of life's tangles came. Why should we never guess and guess and guess again?
Life's a pudding full of plums.
Here's a canker that becomes.
Life's a pudding full of plums. There's a canker that becomes. Well, for which not elocution of impossible solution. Life's a pleasant institution. Let us take it as it comes. Let us take it as it comes. Set aside the dull enigma, we shall guess it all too soon. May a rain guide us
Every
lives are going to begin in real earnest. What is a bachelor? He's a mere nothing. He's a chrysalis. He can't be said to live, he exists.
What a delightful institution marriage is. Why have we wasted all this time? Why didn't we marry 10 years ago?
Because you couldn't find anybody nice enough. Because you were waiting for us.
I suppose that was the reason. We were waiting for you without knowing it. Hello.
Good morning.
This gentleman is an undertaker. It's a bad omen.
A ceremony of some sort going on?
He is an undertaker. No, a little unimportant family gathering. Nothing in your line.
Somebody's birthday, I suppose.
Oh, yes, mine. Oh, and mine.
And mine.
And mine.
Curious coincidence. And how old may you all be?
It's a rude question, but about 10 minutes.
Remarkably fine children. I'm sure you're jesting.
In other words, we were married 10 minutes since.
You don't mean to say you're married?
Oh yes, we are married.
What, both of you?
All four of us.
Bless my heart, how extremely awkward.
You don't mind, I suppose. You weren't thinking of either of us for yourself, I presume. Oh, just let me look at him. You've also heartbroken.
No, I wasn't.
Ah, now, my man. We don't want anything in your line today, and if your curiosity is satisfied, you can go.
You mustn't call me your man. It's a liberty. I don't think you know who I am.
Not we indeed. We are jolly gondoliers, the sons of Baptisto Palmieri, who led the last revolution. Republicans, heart and soul, we hold all men to be equal. As we abhor oppression, we abhor kings. As we detest vainglory, we detest rank. As we despise effeminacy, we despise wealth. We are Venetian gondoliers. You're equals in everything, except our calling, and in that, your masters and your servants.
Bless my heart, how unfortunate. One of you may be Baptisto's son for anything I know to the contrary, but the other is no less a personage than the only son of the late King of Barataria.
What?
And I trust it was the one who slapped me on the shoulder. Called me his man.
What are you indicating? But which is it?
What does it matter? As you are both Republicans and hold kings in detestation, of course you will abdicate at once.
Oh, don't do that.
Well, as to that, there are, of course, kings and there are kings. When I say I detest kings, I mean I detest bad kings.
I see. It's a delicate distinction.
Oh, quite so. Now, I can conceive of a kind of king, an ideal creature, the king of my fancy, you know, who would be absolutely unobjectionable. Such a king, for instance, would abolish all taxes and make everything cheap, except gondolas.
And give a great many free entertainments to the gondoliers.
And set off fireworks on the Grand Canal, and engage all the gondolas for the occasion.
And scramble money on the Rialto among the gondoliers.
Such a king would be a blessing to his people. And if I were king, that is the kind of king I would be.
So would I.
Come, I'm glad to find that your objections are not insuperable.
Oh no, they're not insuperable.
No, they're not insuperable.
Besides, we are open to conviction.
Yes, they are open to conviction. Oh, they've often been convicted.
Our views may have been hastily formed on insufficient grounds. They may be crude, ill-digested, erroneous. I have a very poor opinion of the politician who is not open to conviction.
Oh, he is a fine fellow. Yes, he's the sort of politician for my money.
Then we'll consider it settled. Now, as the country is in a state of insurrection, it is absolutely necessary that you assume the functions of royalty at once. And until it is established which of you is to be king, I've arranged that you shall reign jointly. So no question can arise hereafter as to the validity of any of your acts.
As one individual.
As one individual.
Like this.
Oh, something like that.
And we may take our friends with us and give them places about the court.
Undoubtedly, that's always done.
I'm convinced.
So am I.
And the sooner we're off, the better. Yes, we'll just run home and pack up a few things.
Stop! That won't do at all. Ladies are not admitted.
What?
Not admitted. Afterwards, perhaps, we'll see.
But you don't mean to say that you're going to separate us from our wives?
Only for a time. A few months. After all, what's a few months?
But we've only been married half an hour. Kind sir, you cannot have the whole lives to part from those to whom an hour ago we were united.
And as much she wants to eat. Oh, she's the only thing I mean to be a regular royal queen. No hopping, hopping there, I mean no hopping, hopping there, but like a regular royal queen.
Whenever she condescends to walk, be sure she'll shine at that. We'll always stare at the nose in the air, and the world will aristocrat. At every high society talk, she'll bear away the bell. How do you do? And how are you? And I trust I see you well. Oh, she's the only thing I mean to be a regular royal queen. No hopping there, I mean no hopping there, but like a regular royal queen.
And all the lords will scrape and bow and double themselves in two, and open their eyes in blank surprise whatever she likes to do. And everybody will proudly bow, she's fair as flowers in May, and say, how clever, at whatsoever she condescends to say.
Oh, she's the only thing I mean to be a regular royal queen. No hopping there, I mean no hopping there, but like a regular
papa.
The young son.
Palaces, but you'll
Find I
respect your
Republican.
Palaces, you'll
Find I
respect your
Republican.
Palaces.
As they know we object to pavilions and palaces, how can they respect our Republican palaces?
For everyone who feels inclined some post, we undertake to find congenial with this friend of mine, and all shall equal be.
The chancellor, he needs the rook, the earl, the marquis, and the duke, the groom, the butler, and the cook, they all shall equal be.
The aristocrat who banks the cooks, the aristocrat who hunts and shoots, the aristocrat who cleans our boots, they all shall equal be.
The noble lord who rules the state, the noble lord who cleans the plate,
The noble lord who smokes the great, they all shall equal be.
the lord high bishop or the judge, the lord high coachman in the box,
The lord high vagabond in the stocks, they all shall equal be. For everyone who feels the ranks of those, we undertake to find congenial with this paper, congenial with this paper, and all shall equal be. Sing high, sing low, wherever they go. Sing high, sing low, wherever they go. Wherever they go, wherever they go, they all shall equal be.
Sing high, sing low, wherever they go. Sing high, sing low, wherever they go. Wherever they go, wherever they go, they all shall equal be.
Conflicting feelings rend my soul apart. The thought of royal dignity elates me, but leaving thee behind me breaks my heart.
Farewell, my love, on board you must be getting. But while upon the sea you gaily roam, remember that our heart only is fretting. A tender little heart you left at home. Never could tell when you're away, It's understood you must be good and not to gain. To every trace of maiden grace you will be blind, and will not glance by any chance on womankind. If you are wise, you'll shut your eyes till we arrive, and not address a lady less than 45. You'll please to frown on every gown that you may see, and love, I bet you won't Do not forget, do not forget you married me. You'll lay your head upon your bed and set her sun. You will not sing of anything to anyone.
Expressions of satisfaction and good feeling.
We do.
We are delighted at any time to fall in with sentiments so charmingly expressed.
That's all right.
At the same time, there is just one little grievance we would like to ventilate.
What?
Oh, don't be alarmed, it's not serious. It is agreed that until it is decided which of us is the actual king, we are to act as one person.
Exactly.
Now, although we are to act as one person, we are in fact two persons.
Oh, I don't think we can go into that. It's a legal fiction, and legal fictions are solemn things. Situated as we are, we can't recognize two independent responsibilities.
No, but you can recognize two independent appetites. It's all very well to say that we are to act as one person, but when you supply us with only one ration between us, I should describe that as a legal fiction carried a little too far.
It's rather a nice point. I don't like to express an opinion offhand. I suppose we reserve for argument before the full court.
Yes, but what are we to do in the meantime?
We want our tea.
I think we may make an interim order for double rations. on their Majesties entering into the usual undertaking to indemnify in the event of an adverse decision.
That I think will be the case. But you must work hard. Stick to it. Nothing like work.
Oh, certainly, I quite understand. A person who holds the magnificent position of king ought to do something to justify it. We are called Your Majesty. We are allowed to buy ourselves magnificent clothes. Our subjects frequently nod to us in the street. The sentry always return our salute. And we enjoy the inestimable privilege of heading the subscription lists to all the principal charities. In return for these advantages, the least we can do is make ourselves useful about the palace.
Rising early in the morning, we proceed to light the fire. Then Her Majesty adorningly his work a day at a time. We embark without delay on the duties of the day. First we polish off some batches of political dispatches and with foreign politicians circumvent. Then if business isn't heavy, we may hold a royal levy or we ratify some acts of parliament. Then we normally review the household troops, to the usual shallow humps, the shallow moves, or receive the ceremonial estate. An interesting Eastern potentate, after that we generally go and dress a private curly. It's a very noticed duty, he's a touchy little man. Write some letters literary for a private secretary. He's shaking in his spelling, so we'll help him if we can. Then in view of cravings inner, we go down and order dinner. Then we polish the regalia and the coronation plate. Spend an hour anticipating all our gentlemen in waiting, or we run on little errands for our ministers of state. Oh, philosophers may sing of the troubles of a king, but the duties are delightful and the privilege is great. But the privilege and pleasure that we treasure beyond measure is to run on little errands for our ministers of state.
Oh, philosophers may sing of the troubles of a king, yet the duties are delightful and the privilege is great. And the privilege and pleasure that we treasure beyond measure is to run on little errands for our ministers of state.
After luncheon making merry on a fun and glass of sherry, if we've nothing in particular to do, we will make a proclamation or receive a deputation, or we possibly create a peer or two. Then we help a fellow preacher on his part, the carter or the thistle or the bark. Then we dress and toddle off in semi-state to a festival, a function, or a fete. Then we go and stand on sentry at the palace private entry, marching thither up and down and to and fro. While a warrior on duty goes a searching for a beauty, it generally happens that he hasn't far to go. He relieves us if he's able, just in time to lay the table. Then we dine and serve the coffee, and at 12:30 or 1. With a pleasure that's emphatic, we retire to our attic with the gratifying feeling that our duty has been done. Oh, philosophers may sing of the troubles of a king, but of pleasures there are many and of worries there are none. And the culminating pleasure that we treasure beyond measure is a gratifying feeling that our duty has been done.
Oh, philosophers may sing of the troubles of a king, but of pleasures there are many and of worries there are none. And the culminating pleasure that we treasure beyond measure is a gratifying feeling that our duty has been done.
Yet it is a very pleasant existence. They're also singularly kind and considerate. You don't find them wanting to do this or wanting to do that, or saying, "Hey, it's my turn now." No, they're also singularly kind and considerate. They let us all upon ourselves and never seem to grudge it.
It makes one feel quite selfish. It almost seems like taking advantage of the situation.
How nice they were about the double rations.
Most considerate. There's only one thing wanting to make us thoroughly comfortable.
And that is?
Why, the dear little wives we left behind us 3 months ago.
Yes, it is dull without female society. We can do without everything else, but we can't do without that.
And if we have that in perfection, we have everything. There is only one recipe for perfect happiness.
Take a pair of sparkling eyes, hidden ever and anon in a merciful eclipse. Do not heed them at surprise, having passed the Rubicon. Take a pair of rosy lips, take a figure trimly planned,
a miniature affair, hung around with trellised vine. Furnish it upon the spot with the treasures rich and rare I've endeavored to define. Live and love to live, with a ripe and natural ease, growing on the sunny side. Fate has nothing more to give, you're a dainty man to please. If you're not satisfied, not satisfied, if you can, take my counsel, happy man, act upon it if you can, if you can. Take my counsel, happy man, act upon it if you can, if you can, if you can. Act upon it if you can, happy man, if you
and you never wrote. So at last I said to Giulietta, I can't stand this any longer. Those two poor monarchs haven't got anyone to sew their buttons, or patch their clothes, or mend their stockings. At least I hope they haven't. Let's all pack up a change and see how they're getting on. And she said done, and they all said done. And we asked old Giacomo to lend us his boat, and he said done. And we've crossed the sea, and thank goodness that's done. And here we are, and I've done. And now, which one of you is king? And which of us is queen?
That we shall know till nurse turns up. But never mind that. The question is, how shall we celebrate the commencement of our honeymoon? Gentlemen, can we offer you a magnificent banquet? And ladies, what did you say to a dance?
Oh, a banquet and a dance. Oh, it's too much happiness.
Fancy ball?
No, not exactly. Just a little friendly dance. Sorry you're late.
But I saw a groom dancing, and a footman.
Yes, that's the Lord High Footman.
Dear me, a common little drummer boy.
No, the Lord High Drummer Boy.
But surely the servants' hall is the place for these gentry.
Oh, dear me, no. We have appropriated the servants' quarters. It's now the royal apartment, and accessible only by tickets obtainable at the Lord Chamberlain's office.
We really must have some place we can call our own.
I'm afraid I'm not quite equal to the intellectual pressure of the conversation.
I see the monarchy has been remodeled along Republican principles. All departments rank equally, and everybody is at the head of his own department.
I see.
I'm afraid you're annoyed.
Oh, I won't say that. It's not quite what I expected.
I'm awfully sorry.
So am I.
By the by, can I offer you something after your voyage? A plate of macaroni and a rusk?
No, nothing.
Obliged to be careful?
Yes, Garrett. You see, in every court there are distinctions that must be observed.
There are. Are there?
Why, of course. For instance, you wouldn't have a Lord High Chancellor playing leapfrog with his own cook.
Why not?
Because a Lord High Chancellor is a personage of great dignity, who shouldn't under any circumstance place himself in the position of being told to tuck in his tuckney, except by noblemen of his own rank. A Lord High Archbishop, for instance, might tell a Lord High Chancellor to tuck in his tuckney, but certainly not a cook, gentlemen, certainly not a cook.
Not even a Lord High Cook?
Oh, young friend. That is a rank that is not recognised at the Lord Chamberlain's office. Oh, it won't do. I'll give you an instance in which the experiment was tried.
Well, lived a king, as I've been told,
old in the wonder-working days of old, when hearts were twice as full as gold, and 20 times as mellow. Good temper triumphed in his face, and in his heart he found a place for all the erring human race, and every wretched fellow. When he had Rhenish wine to drink, it made him very sad to think that some bad junket or a king must be content with toddy. He wished all men as rich as he, and he was rich as rich could be. So to the top of every tree, promoted everybody.
Now that's the kind of king for me. We wish one man as rich as he. So to the top of every tree, promoted everybody.
Oh, chancellors were cheap as scraps, and bishops in their shovel hats were plentiful as tabby cats in point of fact too many. Ambassadors cropped up like hay, prime ministers and such as they, who like asparagus in May, and dukes were 3 a penny. On every side Bill Marshall gleamed, small beer where lords lieutenant deep, with every wealthy youngster tea around his wide dominion. And party leaders you might meet in 2s and 3s in every street, maintaining with the little heat their various opinions.
Now that's right, you couldn't beat two party leaders in each street, maintaining with the little heat their various opinions.
That king, although no one denies, his heart was of that noble size, yet he'd have acted otherwise if he had been a tutor. The end is easily foretold, when every blessed thing you hold is made of silver or of gold. You long for simple pewter, when you have nothing else to wear but cloth of gold and satin rare. For cloth of gold you cease to care, up goes the price of shoddy.
Of shoddy, up goes the price of shoddy.
In short, whoever you may be, to this conclusion you'll agree, when everyone is up for them, then no one's anybody.
Now that's plain as they can be, to this conclusion we agree, when everyone is somebody,
Then no one's anybody. News to communicate. His Grace the Duke of Plaza Toro, Her Grace the Duchess, and their beautiful daughter Casilda. I say, their beautiful daughter Casilda.
We heard you.
Have arrived in Barataria and may be here at any moment.
The Duke and Duchess are nothing to us.
Ah, but the daughter, the beautiful daughter. Oh, you're a lucky dog. One of you.
I think you are a very incomprehensible old gentleman.
Not a bit. I'll explain. Many years ago, when you, whichever you are, were a baby, you, whichever you are, were married to a little girl who has grown up to be the most beautiful young lady in Spain. That beautiful young lady will be here to claim you, whichever you are, in half an hour. And I congratulate that one, whichever it is, with all my heart.
Married when a baby?
But we were married 3 months ago.
One of you. Only one. The other, whichever it is an unintentional bigamist.
Well, upon my word!
See? Who are these young persons?
Are we? Why, they're wives, of course. We've just arrived.
Yes, wives. How very unfortunate. Oh, dear, this complicates matters. What will Her Majesty say?
Do you mean to say that one of these monarchs was already married? And that neither of us will be a queen?
That was the idea I intended to convey.
Oh, Tessa, my dear child.
Get away from us, it's you!
My poor little woman.
Don't! Who knows whose husband you are? And pray, why didn't you tell us all about it before they left Venice?
Because if I had, no earthly temptation would have induced these gentlemen to leave two such extremely fascinating and utterly irresistible little ladies.
There's something in that.
I may mention that you will not be kept long in suspense.
as the old lady who nursed the royal child is at present in the torture chamber, waiting for me to examine her.
Poor old girl. Hadn't you better go and put her out of her suspense?
Oh, no, there's no hurry. She's all right. She has all the illustrated papers. However, I will go and interrogate her, and in the meantime, may I suggest the absolute propriety of you considering yourselves as single young ladies. Good evening.
Well, here's a pleasant state of things.
Delightful. One of us is married to 2 young ladies, and nobody knows which. The other is married to 1 young lady whom nobody can identify.
And one of us is married to one of you, and the other is married to nobody. But which of you is married to which of us? What's to become of the other?
Oh, it's quite simple. Observe. 2 husbands have managed to acquire 3 wives. 3 wives, 2 husbands. That's 2/3 of a husband to each wife.
Oh, Mount Vesuvius! Here we are in arithmetic. My good sir, one can't marry a vulgar fraction.
You've no right to call me a vulgar fraction.
We're getting rather mixed. The situation is entangled. Let's try and comb it out.
In a contemplative fashion and a tranquil frame of mind, free from every kind of passion, some solution let us find. Let us grasp the situation, solve the complicated plot. Quiet, calm deliberation disentangles every knot. In a cultivated cautious slice of life, he is rather underrated of mine. He's a duck. I have written down no maker for married, that is clear. He's particularly stupid, statistically he's a dear.
Just that time I was ladylike, appreciative and so I can't love a lady like she's rather nice.
I took Tessa really evil at once a victim fell. She's what is called a silly, still she answers pretty well. She's a silly, still she answers pretty well.
Now when we were pretty babies, someone married us, that's clear.
And yet I have had a lovely treatment and sent her away with a fleeing career.
Lady married to receive her country floors.
If I could teach her what a singular aristocratic, if she married Georgie, said me, you would please me not. If I had to do how would you I'd teach her to marry the Mart. Deliberation for a fix. No, that's anything I can get out of my doubt that the mother will know her again. If I have to jump to the bottom, she might get to it. She doesn't know her, no one else to do Quiet, calm deliberation disentangles every knot. She
tittle, toddle, and at 21.
She's excelled, my lord.
At 21.
She's excelled, my lord. At 20.
She's excelled, my lord.
She comes to claim the royal crown.
Be good enough to inform His Majesty that His Grace the Duke of Plaza Toro, PLC, has arrived and begs
Desire.
Demons!
and demands an audience. And now, my dear, prepare to receive the husband to whom you were united in such interesting and romantic circumstances.
But which is it? There are two of them.
Oh, it is true that the present His Majesty is a double gentleman. But as soon as the circumstances of his marriage have been ascertained, he will, ipso facto, boil down to a single gentleman. Thus presenting a unique example of an individual who becomes a single man and a married man by the same operation.
I have known instances when the characteristics of both conditions have existed concurrently in the same individual.
Oh, he couldn't have been a Plaza Toro.
Oh, couldn't he though?
Well, whatever happens, I shall of course be a dutiful wife. But I can never love my husband.
Oh, I don't know. It's extraordinary what unprepossessing people one can love if one puts one's mind to it.
I loved your father.
Oh, my dear, that remark's a little hard, I think. Rather cruel, perhaps. Somewhat uncalled for, I venture to believe.
It was very difficult, my dear. But I said to myself, that man is a duke, and I will love him. Several of my relations begged that I couldn't, but I did, desperately. On the day that I was wedded to your admirable sire, I acknowledge that I dreaded an explosion of his ire. I was overcome with panic, for his temper was volcanic, and I did very naught, for I feared a thunderbolt. I was always very wary, for his fury was ecstatic, his refined vocabulary most unpleasantly emphatic. To the thunder of this Tartar, I knocked under like a martyr. When intently he was fuming, I was gently unassuming. When reviling me completely, I was smiling very sweetly. I was smiling very sweetly, very sweetly. Giving him the very best and getting back the very worst. That is how I tried to make you make what you did at last. Giving him the very best and getting back the very worst. That is how I tried to make you. But I found it a reliance on my faithful years, and a resolute defiance of my mental fears, and a gentle intimation of my firm determination to see what I could do. What I was to do was the only thing required for to make his temper supple, and you couldn't have desired a more reciprocating couple. Ever willing to be true, we were willing, we were willing. When I merely from him parted, we were nearly broken-hearted. When in sequel reunited, we were equally delighted. We were equally delighted.
she is married into, he would repudiate the contract altogether.
Shady? A nobleman Shady, who is blazing in the lustre of unaccustomed pocket money? A nobleman Shady who can look back on 95 quarterings? It's not every nobleman who is 95 quarters in arrears. I mean, who can look back on 95 of them. And all this, just as I have been floated at a premium. Oh, fie.
Your Majesty is surely unaware that directly your Majesty's father comes in front of the public, he is applied for over and over again.
Her Majesty's father is in the habit of being applied for over and over again, and very urgently applied for too, long before he was registered under the Public Companies Act. To help unhappy commoners and add to their enjoyment, affords a man of noble rank congenial employment. Of our attempts we offer you examples illustrative. The work is light, and I may add, it's most remunerative. Small titles and orders for mayors and recorders I get, and they're highly delighted.
They're highly delighted.
MPs, baroneted, sham colonels gazetted, and second-rate aldermen knighted.
Yes, aldermen knighted.
The foundation stone laying I find very plain. It adds a large sum to my making.
Large sum to his making.
At charity dinners, the best of sweet spinners, I get 10% of the taking.
1/10 of the taking. I present any lady whose conduct is shady, it's slacking of doubtful propriety.
Doubtful propriety.
When virtue posher had taken my washer, launch her in first-rate society.
First-rate society.
I recommend names of clumsy dressmakers, and their finishing touches.
The finishing touches.
A sum in addition they made for permission, say that they make for the Duchess.
They make for the Duchess. Those pressing prevailers, the ready-made tailors, quote me as their great double barrel.
Their great double barrel.
I allow them to do so, though Robinson Crusoe would jib that they're wearing apparel.
Such wearing apparel.
I sit by selection upon the direction of several companies bubble.
All companies bubble.
As soon as they're floated, I'm freely banknoted, I'm pretty well paid for my trouble.
He's paid for his trouble. At middle-class party I play at a palm, I by no means a beginner.
No, she's not a beginner.
To one of my station, your remuneration, 5 guineas a night and my dinner.
And wine with a dinner.
I write letters blatant on medicines patent. Juliana, you mustn't.
Believe me, you mustn't.
And say my conviction derives its perfection from somebody's sin, which it doesn't.
Believe me, it doesn't. We're ready as witness to anyone's fitness to fill any place or preferment.
A place of preferment. We're often in waiting and junket or fating. Sometimes attended interment.
We enjoy an interment. In short, if you kindle the spark of a spindle, your simple comes into your clutches, get into your nudges. Or would we get debtor, you cannot do better
Then trot out a duke or a duchess.
a duke or a duchess. Your Majesty!
It's all right.
The same. Allow me to present. Young lady, one of us is married.
Gentlemen, I am the most obedient servant of one of you. Oh, Louis.
I'm now about to address myself to the gentleman whom my daughter married. The other may allow his attention to wander if he likes, since what I have to say does not concern him. Sir, you will find in this young lady a combination of excellencies which you would search for in vain in any young lady who had not the good fortune to be my daughter. There is some little doubt as to which of you is the gentleman who is paying attention, and which is the one who is allowing his attention to wander. But when that doubt has been solved, I shall say, still addressing the attentive one, take her. And may she make you happier than her mother has made me.
So,
If possible. And now, there is a little matter to which I think I'm entitled to take exception. I came here in state with Her Grace the Duchess and Her Majesty, my daughter. And what do I find? Do I find, for instance, a guard of honor to receive me? No.
No.
The town illuminated? No.
No.
Refreshments provided? No.
No.
A royal salute fired? No.
No.
Triumphal arches erected? No.
No.
The bells said ringing?
No.
Yes. One. The visitors. And I rang it myself. It is not enough. It is not enough.
Upon my honor, sir, I'm sorry. But you see, I was brought up in a gondola, and my ideas of politeness are confined to taking my cap off to my passengers when they tip me.
Well, that's all very well, but it's just not enough.
I'll take anything else off in reason.
But a royal salute for my daughter. It costs so little.
but Papa, I don't want a salute.
My dear sir, as soon as it is realized which of us is entitled to take that liberty, she can have as many salutes as she wishes.
As for guards of honor and triumphal arches, you don't know our people. They wouldn't stand for it.
No, they're very offhand with us. Very offhand indeed.
Oh, but you mustn't allow that. You must keep them in proper discipline. You must impress the court with your importance. You want deportment, carriage,
You've got it, carriage.
manner, dignity. You want a good deal of this sort of thing. And a little of this sort of thing. And perhaps just a soupçon of this sort of thing. And so on. Oh, it's very useful. And most effective. Attend to me. You are a king. I am a courtier. Very good. I am a courtier grave and serious, who is about to kiss your hand. Try to combine a pose imperious with a demeanor nobly bland.
Let us combine a pose imperious with a demeanor nobly bland.
That's if anything too unbending, too aggressively stiff and grand. To the other extreme you're tending, don't be so dubiously condescending.
Not to the other extreme you're tending, don't be so dreadfully condescending.
A heart to be so noble and sweet, I must give anything to unbending. Off he goes on the other extreme, to the perfectly condescending.
Now a gavotte perform sedately, offer your hand with conscious pride. Take an attitude not too stately, still sufficiently dignified.
Now for an attitude not too stately, still sufficiently dignified.
Oncely, twicely, oncely, twicely, bow impressively ere you lie. Calico, you want it nicely, that is the style of the thing precisely.
Capital, you got it nicely, that is the style of it precisely.
A sweet to learn a nobleman's praise. Capital, you got it nicely.
things together. That's called tact.
It's really very awkward. It's not fair to the girl. We ought to tell her how we're situated.
Then why don't you do it?
I'd rather not.
You? I don't know how to begin. Madam, we, that is, several of us.
Gentlemen, I'm bound to listen to you, but it is right to tell you that, not knowing I was married in infancy, I'm over head and ears in love with somebody else.
Our case exactly. We are over head and ears in love with somebody else. In point of fact, our wives.
Your wives? Then you are married? It's not our fault.
We knew nothing about it. We are sisters of misfortune.
My good girls, I don't blame you. Only before we go any further, we must really arrive at some satisfactory arrangement, or we shall get hopelessly complicated.
Here is a place of president, here a king and there is one. Ever since I was first invented, never was all became so hard.
I really sent but been perspected by a profound catastrophe.
Oh, calamity unexpected, indivisible into three.
I'm really sent, I've been unexpected.
I'm indivisible into three. Through a calamity indivisible into three.
A marvelous home, having a home, having to state of the unity. An excellent home, it's all my set, it was indivisible into three. Oh, marvelous home, having a home, having to state of the unity.
Oh,
meeting and comforting, our hearts rejoice and greet, each other contradicting. To those whom we adore, we shall be reunited. Our one heart rather sore, but on the whole delighted.
When others claim thy dainty hand, I waited, as prudence, so I understand, dictated,